Our destination?
Love yourself.
Let's go for a ride.
Welcome to Girls Trip and happy Valentine's Week. If you didn't catch all of our Galentine's talk last week, you can go check that out. But we are continuing our theme of love. This week. And as cheesy as it kind of sounds, I guess we're talking about loving ourselves first. And what that looks like what kind of, how that feels challenged, changed, hopefully improved when you're in a relationship, when you're dating or when you're married, what our kind of experiences have been and how our perception of ourselves has maybe changed.
This might be a two-parter.
We can get real deep real quick.
Because I do think it's an important thing, and we do talk about it kind of often.
Yeah.
Maybe not formally that we talk about it, but
I think our perspectives have changed as we've gotten married, gotten a little bit older. At least for me, I'm thinking about what my kids are going to pick up from me, and we've talked about this a lot in our own private time. We've just grown up in a culture that's very me focused and love yourself, and that's am super important, but also I want my kids to love themselves. So am I doing a good job of that? My perspective on it has shifted a little bit to why does this even matter? How I feel about myself?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I have found, so this year will be coming up 12 years that I've been married. And I have seen a difference, a shift in myself, even just more recently, I want to say in the last year that, so, I mean, we all know that I am not good at taking a compliment. We know that. Okay. I'm not trying to pretend. I know that about myself. But I feel like I have been doing a little bit of work on myself. we've said already a couple of times that I feel like I came into myself in my 30s and turning 30 and have felt a lot more comfortable in my skin, have felt a lot more secure in my friendships, have felt myself break away a little bit from maybe people that I was trying to impress or live up to certain expectations.
Doesn't seem as important anymore.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. I'm just I have to choose these things for myself and not care as much whether they approve or what they think of me as much, and in doing that, a byproduct that I wasn't expecting is I feel like I have been so much more receptive to my husband loving on me.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and
a nice little interesting
verbally saying that, where I feel for so many years he would try, and he does it so easily and so well, but he's very quick to be I love you, or you look beautiful, or whatever it is, and I go right for shut that down, okay, I'm always deflecting, or I'm always using humor, or just straight up not believing him and kind of being why do you even bother saying that, I obviously don't look beautiful. And it was just I don't know, maybe a month ago, where we were putting the kids in the car. I want to say, I don't know, maybe we were heading to church or something. And, he just kind of said you look really beautiful today. And it just hit me in a different way, where I was I so believe that. I believe that you, not that I feel I look amazing, but it was I really believe that you believe that and are saying that in a genuine way. Right. And that I'm receiving that and letting it fill me. And I feel good about that. And I actually told him that. I was that I really like when you say that to me, actually. So of course now it's become I think in the 24 hours after that, he called me twice just to be just calling to tell you you're beautiful.
Miles is the best. And you're all right.
I had to put a limit. I was okay, maybe 5 times in a day is let's limit that there. But yeah, I mean, I'm not usually the one to be so sappy, but I'm just why? Yeah, this feels good to kind of.
Do you know what like transition that was? It because you weren't thinking about like trying to impress, that you were like your brain was just somewhere else now, like you're open to receive it, or do you feel like it was some sort of like I don't know, a different shift?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it must be connected to me sort of like just feeling more secure in myself and who I am more recently, and kind of like coming into that and letting go of maybe expectations of other people have had, or just like stupid stuff, right? That we let play in our brain, where I like realize like
Wait a second,
maybe I'm getting dressed one day for like, and I'm like, oh, so and so like hates stripes, and I'm like, what does that have to do with me? I can wear stripes, or like whatever it may be, or like, oh, people make comments of the type of shoes that I wear, and like just stupid stuff appearance wise, that I've just been like, whatever, like I'm doing this for me, I'm doing this for myself, I feel good about it, and that like my husband can genuinely want to tell me he loves me and really believe that I'm beautiful, and that's like a good thing. And like, why am I trying to like put out that fire all of the time rather than like celebrating it and feeding it and appreciating it? So yeah, that's kind of been my latest evolution in that.
Beautiful. No pun intended.
Beautiful. Now I'm just like, anyone else want to tell me that I'm beautiful today? No.
I just want to piggyback off of that real quick. This is a funny story now. But so you're like, I don't need to dress, or you're thinking that. So at times I have been way too confident and been like, I don't care what I look like when I walk outside. So my husband has this hatred, I would say, for this pair of pants that I own.
Yes.
And I have, when we were dating, I wore them, and they're like, he calls them clown pants. Like they're just loungy pants. Now I was trying to be chic about it. I had some Vans with it, and we were dating. So he was not going to tell me at the time that I hate those, but he had a strong distaste at the time. When we went out to get like pizza together, he was like, eventually it came out, I really didn't like those pants. I was like, well, they're really comfortable, so I'm not throwing them out, but I'm glad you felt so open to wear them. I mean, and tell me that you don't like them when I wear them.
That's great.
So anyway, it's just fun moments like that.
Do the clown pants come out now in your marriage?
Occasionally. Yeah. I have better pants now that are a little bit more comfortable. So I still have them. I was like, I'm not throwing these out.
Yeah, don't get those. No.
But that's just really,
funny. I mean, weirdly, I'd never, anything that Miles has said about not liking something, which is it's few and far between. Now he like jokingly will be like, that's a fun skirt. I'm like, yes, it is. That has never bothered me. I've been like, yeah, and I'm not changing it. But it's weird. Funny that it's just like other people's comments.
Your husband,
more
you're like,
so.
You'll be fine.
I'm like, yeah, well, I'm wearing it anyway because I like it. But it was more, and it really wasn't. It's not about like my physical appearance. It's just literally been me allowing myself to receive like compliments or like words of affirmation or positive things, rather than immediately dismissing or shutting them down. And I don't know why that was my default, like why that made me uncomfortable. But I was like, why am I doing this?
It probably wasn't good for him either.
No. Who wants their words to constantly be deflected and shut down?
And it's a way he can show again his love. Is like maybe it's through those words, because he's really trying to express, hey, I love how you look.
Yeah.
And so
prequel to our love language episode coming out soon. Yeah.
But yeah, so I kind of just had that epiphany lately of like, I've definitely unlocked a new level of like that sort of like whatever cheesy level unlocked we want to call it, inner beauty, confidence, self-worth, of like that I can accept that and that that it feeds both of us, that like I can feel good about it, and also he can feel good about what he's doing, because like what good is it if I'm just like, I don't believe anything that you say? Like he doesn't deserve that. There's nothing he's done that I'd be like, you're lying when you say these nice things to me. So yeah, hopefully I'll keep getting better, that my head will really be huge by them. But I do think it can be a bit of a roller coaster as women if you're especially maybe if it's the reverse, right? If you're either shutting it down or if you're looking for a certain amount of like affirmation from somebody or needing their validation about something. I mean, I got married young. I was like 22 and we started dating, you know, in high school. So, you know, you're still forming a lot about how you feel about yourself at that point. And I think even when you don't realize you're chasing that validation in someone else, you are.
Yeah.
I had like a similar, I think, to that very end of what you're talking about, where got married when I was 28, so a little bit older. And I would say like, yeah, I had confidence throughout, but I didn't realize how much I appreciated words of affirmation from my husband. Because, and you know, you get praise throughout your life. You know, your parents are supportive and they tell you, you know, all the good things about yourself. Your siblings are there to push you down when you need to deflate that. But I didn't realize how much I appreciated that coming from Artie, because I was like, oh, I'm definitely physical. Like, you know, I want the hugs and all that fun stuff. But I didn't realize how much I wanted, or I really appreciated, hey, you look good today, or I love you, you know. Simple things like that I was like, oh yes, like that was just as impactful as anything else that he could have done for me.
And that affected how you saw yourself.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Because, you know, it's different, I think, being in that relationship with your husband than, you know, even a friendship. It's just a different type of love and affection. So hearing that really was like, okay, he does reciprocate this love that I'm giving.
Right.
And he's telling me that. So I did feel a lot from those words.
Yeah.
Really
and I do think it's different, right? Like, because what you said, like I think I always felt a level of like confidence. Like I never really like severely struggled with self-esteem or like anything like that, but everything that you think you know about yourself is different when you're in a relationship. It's just is, because now you're reflecting off of another person. So how you are, I think, as an individual is different than how you are in a relationship, and especially when that becomes a marriage and like you're really, you know, working as a unit. And so definitely in the early years, it less about like, again, physical appearance, but I think I'm like was always looking to hear "I love you," like a texting, like either I saying it or like asking, "Do you love me?" or like, you know, and just always needing to hear that over and over again. And it was like, yes, like how many more times can I say it? Because you just want to be constantly, you know, reassured.
Yeah,
I would say it's something that's common. It may not be, but common when you're just getting married too. Like in those first 5 years, maybe it is like, okay, we know we both love each other, but like it's still it's new. You're still taking, you know, life now together and trying to work through challenges. So it is something that, again, for maybe people who need those words, it really is a boost for your morale.
So my question to the matriarch of the group, how important is it to your marriage to really have, I wish I could say it better than high self-esteem, but how is it not just to you, to your own emotional, mental health, but how important is it in your relationship, even if you're not married, in a relationship, that you are comfortable in your own skin? How important is that?
Oh, I mean, I think the obvious answer is like, you know, when you phrase it like that, it's like, yeah,
of course,
right? Like, but when you're not, it's gonna detract from what you're able to bring to your relationship, right? Because if you're always feeling like you lack, or like you're not enough, or you're feeling judged, like you're putting that own judgment on, but you know, you're assigning it to your spouse or your partner or whatever, putting that on you, you're not going to be able to accept any of the good things, because you're always going to feel like there's a but, or it's like, yeah, I know you love me, but you know, whatever you're feeling insecure about becomes so much more magnified when you're sharing a life with a person, and you start self-sabotaging, and then nothing can be good.
Well, I think the very thing that makes us want to go into a relationship in the first place, to get that validation,
100%,
that is the thing that can just as easily take us out of relationships.
It lets you
because
down sometimes.
It lets
too.
you down, and it may feel good in that moment of that quick satisfaction of someone said they love me or someone thinks I'm beautiful. But if it's not something, if it's not a belief, a core belief, then that will dissipate within moments, and then it's gone. And then it's this game of, let me just see how much I can get from this person, and then that person feels depleted.
Yeah,
Yes, because you become this black hole. So if you don't feel good or confident about whatever, the person you are in your career, the type of wife you are, the mother you are, you're always going to be looking to outside sources to feel better about that situation. And it's never going to be enough because you don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
You don't believe it. So if you get to a point where you're like, not in an arrogant way, but like, I know I'm being a good wife or a good partner or a good friend, or, you know, I'm feeling good. I'm giving my all as a mom or whatever that is. When someone recognizes that in you and verbalizes it, it does feel good. It does affirm because you can accept that. You can believe that. But when you don't believe that about yourself, nothing that anyone says, no matter how many times they say it, will fill that hole. But you're going to keep wanting them to say it, thinking that
Right.
That
it will and
satisfy you.
It will never satisfy you.
Yeah.
and it
No.
doesn't. And I think what you said, I agree with that whole, like, maybe in those first 5 years and whatever it is, whether it's I love you or whatever those words are. I think a lot of that is like we haven't yet identified what it is that we're feeling. So
So you just say, I love you.
we just try to
Yeah.
we think like let's just fill those
Yeah.
those holes because we're not really sure where the lack is or
Yeah.
why we're feeling a certain type of way yet. It takes a long time to navigate that and like get to the root of things, I think.
And I feel like unless you've been in a relationship for, like, you know, through high school or whatever, you're still, like, if you dated for, you know, say you're whatever, you know, we dated for 9 months, then we got engaged.
Yeah.
Like you're
Yeah.
still learning a lot about them.
Totally.
When you're getting married. So there is a lot of like investigation and like, what is this? Because I don't know if it's sadness or I don't know if it's this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a
And
really
it's
good point.
okay to, I feel like there's this misconception about like, once you get married, that's it. You made it. And
Yeah.
now it's all good.
Yep.
Right. And it's like, ooh,
There's so
no,
much.
not
So
really.
much.
There's so much more to learn. If anything, it's the beginning of this brand new world that has opened up for these two people. It's not the climax. It is just the beginning of this new race. And a lot of I know yours, feeling insecurities in those first couple years of marriages, of our marriages, felt like, oh, I should be further along in this than I am already.
Yeah.
For whatever reason that those thoughts have come into our head. I should be a better homemaker. I should be making more money to help. I should be a better listener, communicator, or whatever the thing is. And that can really bring you down in those first couple years of marriage, because you just don't think that you are measuring up to this idea that you had of yourself. When I think the whole reason why we're doing this is to share with people, women, you're not alone in feeling those things. It's not just you. You're not just the problem. It's all of us. We all have gone through this growth, whether it's a new relationship or a new marriage or a first baby. Like there's so many things that we're all just keeping on growing, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember saying to myself over a lot, like, I have to become a better person before we have kids. Like I have to. Like I have to become a better person before I'm someone's mom. Like I don't deserve to be someone's mom when I'm still getting angry over this, or when I'm still feeling insecure about this, or like whatever it is. And obviously you can't become perfect. Like you can improve and you can get better, but you know, I was never going to meet that expectation that I wanted for myself. And that's hard. I mean, it's good to have that motivation and know what your areas are that you need to improve in, but you can't let that hang over your head and like rob you of your growth and your joy that you are experiencing. But
would you say that some of that growth is only going to come when you have
yes,
your
Right.
kid?
Like there's no point in
You're
saying,
just like, why, you know, I mean, it's not to say why bother trying. It's just like some things you can't do until you're in the moment and like, oh, this is how I'm going to respond. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you can only plan so much sometimes for certain things.
And we're not like, we don't exist in a vacuum, right? So when we're saying we want to be a better person or have less insecurities or, feel more confident in an area or whatnot, like you have to work that out in action. Like it has to come up in your marriage or in your job or like whatever that is. You have to be working at it in real time. So you can't just be like, I'm going to think really hard about being a better person and then I'm just going to be more patient or less, forgiving or like, whatever it may be. So yeah, you kind of have to, you can set those goals and intentions and you can pray about it and you can, read your Bible about it and you can see a counselor. You can do all of those things, which you should. That's being proactive, but you still have to like refine yourself in the fire.
Totally.
Right? Like you don't become perfect.
That's the question, because what we talked about before was like, you can't, okay, so we're not looking for validation in someone else. We're going to fall short in that. Right. So how do we slowly change our mindsets to something that is more really truthful, more positive, more self-affirming, so we're not looking at it from somewhere else? Like, what do we have to do? What are some things that we should be doing? What advice would you give yourself as a girlfriend, fiance, wife, and then first-time mom? Like, what advice would you give yourself to help change your the way that you think and the things that you say to yourself?
I think that like two things. One is that we are all on the same page about the fact that our identity and who we are is found in Christ, right? Like for us, that's the source of our truth. Right. Like that's where we're going to. So when I finally like got that, and I was like, I'm always chasing this validation, this confidence from all of these external sources, that if I just achieve this, if I just get this accolade, if I just, have this perfect marriage, if, whatever
then
it
I'll
is,
feel that done.
Then I'll feel like I am complete. And it's like, that's never going to be the case, because even if you do get any of those things, the bar is just going to keeps rising, moving, right? And then some of those things you're never going to get to. Maybe they're not a part of your plan. Your vision's going to change, and then you're going to feel like a failure. So it was really like, I need to, let go of all of those things and just say, like, whatever I'm called to accomplish, God has or will equip me to do.
Yeah.
Like every example that I look at, like, sorry to get really like pastor's kid about this, spiritual, but like every example you look in, right? Like, whether you're reading about Gideon and him, like, taking on this enemy army, like he came from nothing, no experience. You take a shepherd boy, David, like he wasn't the one, like, so I'm like, when I feel like, who am I? Like, that's exactly how I'm supposed to feel. Nothing that I can do will, it's not like if I work hard enough, I'll be the best wife or the best mom or the best CEO.
Which is
or like
tough for you.
Which is tough for me.
Your productivity need to have that in your life. That's difficult for you, I think. Yeah.
And to just
more so than others.
Yeah. Let that go.
Yeah.
And be like, what do I really want out of this life? Like, what's really important? And am I putting my time towards that?
Yeah.
But when I talk to like younger girls, through my nonprofit work, and we talk about confidence and inner beauty and stuff like that, I always explain it to them, like, that we're kind of told growing up that confidence or self-worth or whatever word you want to call it is this like thing that you either have it or you don't.
Right.
And so if you're feeling a little bit of lack, then your mind starts to tell you you're not it.
Yeah.
You don't have confidence. You don't have self-worth. You're not good enough, and you need to be chasing that. And I think that's such a lie. So I always like explain, I'm like, think of a mosaic, right? Where you have all of these little pieces. And I was like, all of these experiences that you're going to have throughout your life, every time you try something new, every time you go out of your comfort zone, every time you form a new friendship, every time you start a new habit or break an old one or whatever, you're gaining another piece of this mosaic, right? And it's going to keep evolving and changing when you step back and look at it. So your mosaic is going to look very different than mine, and yours might look different. But then in 5 years, all of our pictures are going to change, and we're never building to this like pinnacle. It's more like it's growing in every direction, and sometimes we're going to be growing a lot in this direction, maybe gaining a lot of confidence in our career or a lot of confidence in ourselves as a wife, or like whatever it may be. and to not focus so much in the lack in the other areas. But this is just where we're flourishing right now.
I love that analogy, not to get so Myers-Briggs on y'all. Not to get all 16 personalities on y'all, but if you visualize that analogy of the mosaic, all of those pieces, a mosaic is made out of broken pieces, right? And sometimes in our growth, it's painful and it's hard. And sometimes we need to go through a couple broken hearts in our Valentine's Day theme, right? In our Valentine's Day theme, sometimes we need to go through some broken hearts to grow and to add another piece. And it might be chipped and it might be difficult, that season that we were in or that time of our lives. But ultimately, it's to form something beautiful if we let it, if we allow it to let us grow, if we don't let it make us bitter or make us even more self-conscious and all the things, right? And I think I don't want anyone to think that we're describing this ideal thing that everyone needs to be, because especially women who fluctuate in all the ways, from happiness level to weight level. I mean, it's tough. Some days you may feel like from your husband when he tells you you're beautiful, like, yes, I am. And it could be 24 hours later that you're like, you lying piece of crap. Why would you say that? That's life, right? But I think as long as you have really more good days than more of the bad days, you know that you're on a trajectory of growing in it, right?
Yeah. And you press on and you take a step back.
Yeah.
And you press on and you take a step back.
That's right.
And,
That's
see
right.
how you've grown and where things have gone. I mean, even
Yeah.
in this experience, right? Woo!
Yes.
I have gone from wow, I'm so proud of myself because 5 years ago, I never would have agreed to get in front of any kind of camera or microphone. That was my absolute nightmare. But now I'm just going to do it and have fun. It is what it is to oh my God, what are we doing? Why are we doing this to ourselves? And being no, Lauren, don't go there. Don't go there. We're past that, So yeah, it can be a real roller coaster, and we're all going to have those moments. You can't escape that. And that's always the other thing I've talked about. Don't think of if I have that self-doubt, that you're trying to eradicate it. Because I don't think it can be eradicated. You can't stop that. You just learn how to cope with it and how to push past it and realize that that there's more that's worth pursuing. Not oh, I never have any negative thoughts. Okay.
I'm amazing and a perfect human being.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And we always talk about this a lot too when we talk about shows and movies and how they totally twist relationships and how they make it usually have a character who has a very specific personality trait. The strong, confident one or the weak, self-conscious, insecure one, right? And it's that's their personality. That's who they are. That's not real.
No.
People ebb and flow all the time. People have ups and downs and good days and bad days, and that's normal. And it's perfectly, and I don't think we're supposed to fit into a mold. That's not who we are. As women, we may ebb and flow a little bit more than the men do. Just that's who we are, and that's okay. But we don't have to have this idealized version of ourselves that we're constantly looking to. I think that's the point, right?
I think 100%. And every new phase of our lives or experience is going to present a new challenge in that. When I was, I hadn't dated anybody before I was dating who would become my husband, right? I grew up in a great household. I was driven, all this kind of stuff. So I'm thinking I'm not bringing any baggage into my marriage. You're welcome, honey. And then you realize
we're laughing because we know the stories.
Oh, maybe I do have some stuff just by being a person that I need to work out. But that was under the surface until it wasn't anymore. And so that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Thank you for joining us on our first day of love. Lots more fun discussions. I don't know if fun's the word. Introspective, but good. Really good conversations to come. Thank you for being with us. And don't forget to enjoy the view wherever your ride takes you.